God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us. He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Greetings, family. This is your brother Willie Muhammad, and we welcome you all back to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. Today, we have one. None of you all, if you're in the Nation of Islam, I don't know how you don't know this brother, but there's so many things that I appreciate about our guest today. And you've seen the flyer, you know, it's none other than our brother Jeffrey Muhammad, who is one of the student ministers in our national mosque, Mosque Mariam, right? And we're going to hear from him. I can't wait to hear his testimony and also give you all the opportunity to hear his testimony. So without further delay, let's bring our brother to the stage right now. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you for granting us this opportunity to interview you and hear your testimony.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you for the opportunity to bear witness to the greatness of Allah.
Yeah, and thank you for the work that you do. And some of the questions I want to ask you, we're going to talk about that work. But first, you know, one of the things that I love about this show is that it gives me the opportunity to hear the stories of how believers came to the Nation of Islam. And I've heard some amazing stories. I just interviewed a brother in our city last Sunday, and we produced a clip today. This brother said he was asleep and he heard a voice. And he said he got up out of his sleep, and the voice that he had been hearing, the voice told him, "Get up, brother, we have some work to do." And he said he was in the house by himself. And at that time, he used to work for he was a correctional officer. He worked as a sheriff in the city of New Orleans. So he said he grabbed his gun and he went to go check his house because he thought somebody was in his home. And he said he went back to sleep and he woke up this time and there was a face coming out of the TV. And he said he was crying. When he woke up the next morning, he thought it was a dream. But he said knew it was real because he still saw the traces of the tears on his face. He went to talk to a friend at work who grew up in the Nation of Islam, and the brother was like, "Man, you've been listening to Minister Farrakhan," and Brother Frederick said he had never heard of the minister. He said, wow. But when his brother showed him the videos of the minister on the phone, Brother Frederick said, "Man, that's the face I saw." And that began his process. He started listening to the minister. And there's so many amazing testimonies and stories, my brother. So I'll lay that base to hear. Can you take us back to the beginning for you? How did you first become aware of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and decide to actually join?
I don't have anything as profound and experience.
Still profound, though.
Yes, that one. Profound. That one is profound.
Yes.
How Allah touches the heart is amazing. Well, I first heard the teachings in official capacity. I was living in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I had recently graduated from college, and I moved there with my first job after graduating. And I met a young man. He was a mentee of mine. And he gave me this cassette tape of the minister, Countdown. This was 1990, but the tape was Countdown to the year 2000. And he did it in Washington, D.C. And I loved the tape. However, I could not vibe with the term Elijah Muhammad, Master Fard Muhammad, and Allah. Been born and raised a Christian. Not that I was being Christian-like, but my faith in the term God, Jesus, and Christianity was so convinced at the time. everything the minister said made sense, except when he said Allah, Holy Quran, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Master Fard Muhammad. But I kept listening to that tape. Now I have been familiar with the minister to some degree because in my college, I was our chapter president for Reverend Jackson when he was running for president in the slogan of Run, Jesse, Run. And I remember one of the VHS tapes we got, which was the first time I had seen the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He did the introduction for Reverend Jackson's speech. And I think the minister spoke for all of 5 minutes. But as we were listening to it, we were down in the area we call like the Surge area. We sitting there on the lounge chairs and we were like, wow, who is this dude? And his 5 minutes were greater than Reverend Jackson. And at the time, I was a Reverend Jackson fan. He was my hero, my frat brother, and to me, he was my number one civil rights person. But Minister Farrakhan, in 5 to 6 minutes, was off the chain. That his face, I never forgot his face. And then I saw him again on Ted Koppel. And Ted Koppel went to the high school that I went to in Hammond, Indiana. And he would come back to our school and talk. So he was considered one of the greatest interviewers of all time. But I remember at that show, the minister had him so tied up that he kind of like cut the show at the end and went to a commercial break and he didn't come back. So when I got this tape, I was vaguely familiar with the minister, but I loved this tape, but I wasn't committed to being a Muslim. And then right about in May, I went to visit my mother, who was in the hospital. Now, she lived in Gary, Indiana. I'm in Fort Wayne. It's about a 3-hour drive. And in going, I could hear the machines in the background, so I knew something was serious. But when I got there, she had this old cantankerous spirit, so I figured, man, if she can go off on me in the hospital, she must be okay. So I went out that night. It was a club in Chicago called the Hard Rock Cafe. And I partied to maybe 2:33. And when I came back home, my father was in the doorway. And I'm 24, and I'm like, now I know this man's not about to tell me I'm coming in the house too late. But as I'm walking up to the door, he tells me, your mother just passed.
Wow.
And my mother was my best friend. I didn't realize that until I heard that. And I didn't realize that my mother at the time had meant more to me, probably Minister Willie, on an equal level with God. My mother was my everything. So I'm driving around in this stupor. I go to the hospital. They let me see her. And when I see the body, I'm like, man, she ain't coming back. She's dead. So I'm driving. So Gary's maybe an hour, between 45 minutes, an hour from Chicago. So between 4 o'clock and about 12 o'clock, I'm just driving. I'm gone. Don't know what's happening. All I remember is at about 12 o'clock, a brother's knocking on my window. And I'm in my car and I'm crying. He's like, why don't you come on in? He said, you okay? And I said, no, I just lost my mom. And he said, well, come on in. You know, we having a person that you could talk to today. Now, I had never been to Mosque Mariam, never been to the mosque. I'm on Mosque Mariam's parking lot. Didn't know how I got there from Gary. All I know is a brother knocking on the window. And it happened to be Brother Sultan from the E-Team. He said, come on in. So on the tape Mother's Day in 1990, I'm on the first seat in the first row. And in the lecture, the minister is saying how much we should tell our mothers we love them. We appreciate them because we might not get the chance. And I'm just bawling. I mean, I'm crying. I'm crying. And throughout the lecture, everything he says is hitting me. And at the end, you know, he stand up and I go and I shake his hand. I said, man, I'd never heard anything like this before. Never heard a man speak to the divinity of women and the protection of women. And the phrase that stayed with me, that women are not the women of man, women is the women of God. and that he used a quote from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad where he said, there never was a time when there was not a woman. I'm coming from the church where women come from the rib of a man, came from Adam, and his whole exegesis just blows that whole concept away. He removes the sting of Eve being guilty for sin. He wipes all that out. And I'm listening. I'm like, there's something about this man. So I'm going to get up and shake his hand. And I'm mesmerized. But after that, I got this long drive back to Fort Wayne. And I'm having this conversation with God. And during the lecture, the minister had said, you know, if you ever want to talk to God, and I'm paraphrasing now, take the Holy Quran, kiss it, and read it. I'd never had a Quran, didn't believe in it. And I'm like talking to God. I said, God, everything he's saying makes sense to me. It's touched my heart. It has fed my soul. But I don't want to be apart from you. I've never heard the term Allah. I don't believe in that. And whoever, we were saying Farad at the time. I don't know who Farad is. But I don't want to be away from you. I don't want to be wrong. But I've never heard anything like this before. So God, you got to tell me, is this the way to go or not? I've been Christian. Now I'm talking, crying, talking, and driving. And for me, I'm not a spooky person, but I always believe, Minister Willie, that God speaks to you in a way that you understand. So for me, I could always hear whatever God wanted from me. I could hear it through a song. I play my radio, I cut it off. I said, okay, God, tell me something. You got to send me a sign. If you send me a sign, I'm going to go back. If you don't send me a sign, I'm staying in the church. So I cut the radio on, and many of the listeners might not know, but the old school people would know. It was a song by Kenny Loggins, and the song is called This Is It. And it went straight to the lyrics, this is it, make no mistake where you are. So I cut the radio off, and I'm like, okay, that ain't it. Okay, God, good luck. Give me another sign, God. That's just too lucky. So at the time, you know, you had the analog radio, so I cut it off. You didn't have the digital with the screen. You had the one with the little line that ran across. So I'm spent it. And I said, okay, I'm going to cut it on. Didn't have the push buttons then. You had to cut on. So I turn it back on. Totally different radio station. Same song comes on. And it goes right to the end of where it was. Make no mistake where you are. This is it. I cut it off again. So I pulled the car over and I said, okay, God, you done played this song twice. I'm still not sure if this is it. I need one more sign from you. Now, I asked him to show me. And I said, one more. So I take this Quran. And you remember, Brother Willie, back then, after every lecture, you bought every book. You bought every tape. Because after I heard him, you know, they had the tables in the mosque. And I think I bought $200 or $300 worth of tapes, books. I wanted to learn everything. So I grabbed the Quran, and I remember him saying, kiss it. And I don't know how I did it, but I said, okay. Then I opened it up, and I believe it went straight to Surah 93. It said, did we not find thee groping? Did we not find thee lost? And I closed it. And I prayed. I said, that's it. I'm sold. And from Mother's Day, 1990 to today, I've been a member of the Nation of Islam. And it was that 15, 20 minute gap that made me to say, I believe.
Man, that is profound. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think, man, if we go back and we just listen to all of our different believers, how we came, we see Allah's hand in it, right? And I've been reading the Quran lately, and what has been sticking out to me, like when Allah says in the Holy Quran, like he determines who believes and who's going to stay walking in ordinancy, right? So it's like he decides, you know what I'm saying? We may use different vessels, but he decides, and for that to happen. So you didn't even know how you ended up on the premises of Mosque Mariam?
I had no clue. I don't know if driving, if I hit somebody, ran red lights. I was in a stupor. I just could not reconcile that my mother was gone, and I'm just driving. And I remember leaving because she was in a Hammond, Indiana hospital. I remember leaving out of the Hammond, Indiana hospital, getting in the car. That had to be 4-ish, 4:30, something like that. And just driving. And all I remember was Brother Sultan. And I didn't know his name was Sultan at the time. I remember Brother saying, "You okay? Come inside." And we were at Mosque Mariam. I'd never been to the mosque. Never been on the parking lot. So I agree. God had his hand. He had his hand in that one. I have no idea what I did during those hours. I don't know if I went somewhere, stopped. All I remember was the end of the journey.
And you happened, and when your first day there, was it the minister just happened to be teaching about mothers?
It was Mother's Day. My mother died on Mother's Day. So I'm messed up. I'm messed up. You know, and at the time I'm thinking, what did I do wrong to deserve my mother dying on Mother's Day? So I'm you know, you have that old Christian mindset back in the day that when things happen, it's due to things that you've done wrong. It wasn't labeled as God's will. It was always, what did you do to deserve this? So I'm trying to reconcile, why God, why on Mother's Day you take my mother? But had it not happened, I probably never would have joined the Nation of Islam. And I fed from the pain of my mother, and in the city, like you did in the city you were in, went to work. I channeled the pain, and every day went out with the paper, books and tapes, and sold it. I was the only believer in Fort Wayne. And within a year, we ended up getting a study group, and I think we got almost 42 persons registered. But we were early in the days of the nation. That was 90. So we didn't have the infrastructure as strong. And I'll be honest with you, I thought we were little. I'm comparing myself to the churches with 200-300 people. And Minister Ishmael was just coming into office, and he said, "Well, how many people there?" And I said, "I don't even want to tell you." He said, "Well, how many?" I said, "It's about 40. He said, "That's a lot." And I'm like, Reverend down the street with a storefront, he got 150. So I'm assuming every mosque got to have 5,000, 10,000. I haven't traveled anywhere other than Detroit, and Detroit was packed. And then Mosque Mariam was always packed. And I didn't realize it's packed when he was there. I didn't know. We didn't have the internet set up. All we had was the VHS tapes. And as you know, every tape is Mosque Mariam was packed. So I didn't know. And I didn't realize 40 was a lot. Just went to work, but it was channeling of the pain that propelled the work more than was just channeling.
Man, that is add to my list of phenomenal testimonies, brother. That's, man, listen, you go back and look at that. That's Allah's hand is in it. You know what I'm saying? And
there's no.
I had all of those other questions. I had 2-3 other questions, but you answered them all and talking about that. So when that happens, I just say, like, Allah is doing this thing, and I go to this next one. So how would you've been in the nation since 1990? How would you describe the impact that Islam has had on your life, spiritually, mentally, and just in a practical sense as well?
It has had a phenomenal effect. I can only imagine life absent of Islam. Prior to Islam, I would have been considered a white man's nigga. I wanted to do everything that they wanted to do. I was going to the after work cocktail parties. I was smoking the cigars before they were popular. In the black community, all the white guys at the work, they go smoke. I went to smoke. They go to happy hour. I go to happy hour. They went to their clubs. I went to their clubs. My self-esteem was so bad in being black that I felt they had such an advantage that at times, Minister Will, I used to pray to God, let me wake up and be white. Let me wake up and be lighter. Let me wake up and have the advantages that they had. But with Islam, I can't even imagine my family. My family would have been drinkers, pork eaters, Christmas, Easter. Life would have been shallow, aimless, for the pursuit of money and things. But the adventure and faith that I have gotten in Islam is so incomparable to anything that I could have imagined. I probably would have been retiring in the next couple of years, just at the house, cutting the grass and in the backyard, drinking beer or doing a barbecue. Just a life having no impact on anybody. But through Islam, and I've been blessed at million family march, different march to speak before thousands of people, at least just to say prayer. And I would have never have had these opportunities had it not been for the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the respect that we receive at work and wherever we go. You know, Brother Muhammad, good to see you. Not a respect that I have earned or deserved. It's the respect of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's the respect of the minister. And the person that greets you is just grateful that you're with them. I would have never have been a respected brother and appreciated brother if I had not accepted Islam in my life. I would have been one of a million Negroes just plodding along, dead as a doorknob. And I have to be honest, not even sure if I'd be alive. I could have probably done some dirt so bad, I might not even be here at this time. If it weren't for Islam, my children wouldn't have the respect that they do have for me. And most importantly, I would not love myself the way that I do if it were not for the teachers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Islam. So Islam has changed every facet of my life that I can think of, from how I dressed, how I looked, how I talked, how I walked, my circle of friends, my circle of exercise, whatever I do, Islam has affected everything. And lastly, I probably would have had a heart attack, stroke, been grossly overweight or something had it not been for the teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Wow. We thank Almighty God Allah for that blessing on your life. And you mentioned about you being able to speak, you know, before millions more movements, say the prayer, and then what you do on, you know, the Wednesday nights, the Sundays. And I often text you this because I really enjoy, brother, like when we have those Wednesday night meetings and you open up, man, you just, for me personally, and I imagine with other people, you have a way of just lifting what people are going through. You know, like you acknowledge that. I know you just came, you just was able to put a few spoons of bean soup, and how you put it, you ran here and you're like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And that's a question I want to ask for your spirit that you do during those openings. Why is it important to you to do that? And what's your mindset and the intention that you carry to the rostrum when you do that? Because it's, to me, it seems like it's sincere, but it's also very intentional. You there? You heard me? You heard?
Yes, sir. I think of, I heard you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you.
I think back, I'll first say, I thank Allah for allowing a filthy rag, even just to bear witness to his people. And I know through all of my flaws, my mistakes, my mishaps, that Allah has forgiven me and allows me the privilege that he does. I remember living in other cities, and you got 5 people in the mosque, 10 people in the mosque, and you go from the front door to the rostrum, back to the front door to the checkpost. You know, I'm in the cities where, you know, you don't have national obligatory charity. You got to have the fish dinners to keep the lights on and the phone on in the mosque. And I think about that, and I remember the Savior's Day where we were holding posts. And, in that time, you didn't leave that post till you were properly relieved. And this might sound kind of spooky, but sometimes you're on that post 6, 7 hours. And if you were outside or on the route to Savior's Day, sometimes nobody ever came back to relieve you. You standing outside on the corner somewhere or on the roof of Kobo, and you just up there and it's raining or snowing, but you want to be that person that if there is a sniper, you want to say, I saw him. He ain't gonna get a chance to shoot at the minister. And I think about all those days, and I think about the brother as I'm coming through the front door. And I might not know his name, which is bad. But he says, Brother Jeffrey, student minister Jeffrey. And it stayed with me like, man, that brother, it's cold out here. Or the brother that's out in the front, he's shoving. And he giving me the greetings, and I'm rushing to get inside to prepare my words. I'm warm, but I know he's outside. And I think of the sisters. It's nasty. It's wet in the front, and they're searching. And it reminds me of the like the TV show with Cheers, where the gentleman Norm would come in. Everybody knew Norm's name. But in the song of Cheers, it was like, nobody knows your name. There's a lot of believers that is just brother and his sister. They're the unsung heroes. They show up every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, every Sunday. And since they're the first or second, they ask, brother, hold that door for me. Yes, sir. Sister, get the doorpost. Yes, ma'am. And they're there. They haven't heard of lectures in a long time because they're always on duty. Brother, can you drop brother off at the airport? Yes, sir. Sister, can you make sure Sister Captain get home? Yes, ma'am. We need some help in the kitchen. Can you make sure? Yes, ma'am. And I think of those believers, and I try to make sure that they're mentioned, that their duty and their sacrifice is mentioned. Because as you know, as student ministers, we're nothing without them. If they don't open that door and do the search procedure, nobody's coming to see that lecture. If they're not out there fishing. So always intentionally think of them. And then student minister Ishmael always reminds me. He always says, think of the little believer. He always said, there's no big I, there's no little you. But think of the little believer that we don't get to acknowledge or recognize. Recognize them. Think of the brother that you pass by. Remember him, and all that stays with me. And I say, Brother Willie, the most important thing was, as a young student minister, the minister would stop and just shake our hand. Didn't know our name. He would ask, where you from? May Allah bless you. Well, if the messenger of God could stop and ask you your name and where's the city and offer prayer, then it's the least I can do for every person that's the unsung hero. Let me make sure that they're recognized during our meetings, that they feel good. They get a shot of spiritual steroid to say, you know what? I keep coming to these meetings. I might not ever make it to the podium. I might not ever get my picture in the final call. But the believers know I'm out here giving it 100.
Man, I thank you and for having that spirit, brother, because it really helps, man, because some believers skip dinner and they come right to the mosque and they're here on the Wednesday. And it's important. One of the things I strive to try to do is make the mosque a place where people want to come.
Yes.
Not another place where it's one more thing that I have to do like makes a place where, no, this is where you should want to come.
That's
when
right.
You are feeling tired, when you're going through something. This should be the place of relief. And seeing you do that and the impact that it has on me, that has helped me to do the same and encourage other members of the student ministry. Like, man, don't get up there and beat up on people because they ate who late and all of this. Yeah. Just that's gonna deal with it on his own. Just thank those who are here and make them feel good. And that's what I'm saying, like, man, make them feel good. Like all the stuff we know we got stuff to work on. Just make them feel good. And I want to go to this next question. You talked about our brother student minister Ishmael, and I see like you support and assist brother Ishmael, the way, from my perspective, the way I've seen Brother Akbar do with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right? What allows you to serve and assist him in that way?
Ooh, that's a heck of a compliment, brother. I see Minister Ishmael's love of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Master Fard Muhammad. I see his sincere desire to please them, to do their work, to continue the work of his father. I feel his sincerity. I feel his love. So I can serve him as he serves the minister. I know that he does everything he can when the minister asks him to do something. And I've been blessed on a few occasions to hear the minister say something to him, and I've watched Minister Ishmael give it in the same spirit, in the same manner that it was given to him. I've seen him when the minister calls on the phone, and although they have a very special and intimate relationship, Mr. Ishmael gets just as nervous as you and I do. It's not a familiar, hey, Brother Minister. Brother Ishmael gets real nervous. And just as we do, if the call comes, his voice, yes, sir, Tim. Yes, sir. And I've been with him at times where it's just been he and I in the room. And it's been the minister. Minister Ishmael will stand. He's not even paying attention. He'll stand while he's on the phone. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. He's full attention. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. Yes, sir. And his voice comes real low. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. Anything to please you, Brother Minister. Yes, sir, Brother Minister. And gets off the phone. And probably the same way the time we've been on it, just like, whew, that was the minister. And it was like, but that's your uncle. Mm-hmm. That's your father's son, which is your brother. Mm-hmm. You're also brother-in-laws because your son's married to his daughter. Your daughter's married to his son. So you got like a 3 different level relationship with it. But for Brother Ishmael, the only relationship that he sees is serving. And he says, I can serve him because he has served my father and he serves God. So it's easy to serve a man that desires to please God, one, than the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the minister. And as you know, Mr. Ishmael is relentless. If the minister wants something, he's going to give everything he can to make sure that the minister is pleased. So it always brings to mind the scripture, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. And I know that Minister Ishmael will always lift the minister's name, not his. He'll lift the minister to make sure people are drawn towards the minister.
Praise be to Allah. And I want to bring him back up. You know, what can you talk about? Are there any specific things that you have learned from working with our brother assistant student minister, Brother Ishmael Muhammad? What are some things that you have learned by working with the national assistant?
I would say the most important thing that I've learned is to make sure to have an intimate and personal relationship with Master Fard Muhammad. He would ask me, how did you say it in the church when you had a special relationship with Jesus? And I would say to make Jesus my personal Lord and Savior. And he would say, then make Master Fard Muhammad your personal Lord and Savior. And he would always drop the jewel on me in times of trouble. And I always say, remember, he didn't come to punish you. He came to save you. And once you ask him for forgiveness, he has already forgiven you. Can you forgive yourself? And he's always stressing to me and to the class of ministry, he didn't come to punish. So stop saying that Master Fard Muhammad is doing this. He said he came to save us. If he didn't come to save us, we don't stand a chance. So the grace and mercy of God is paramount in our ministry class with Minister Ishmael Muhammad, and keeping the focus on Master Fard Muhammad as our personal Lord and Savior. Then making sure that the three are lined up. Even though we don't believe in the Trinity, we do believe that the three are one. And he always says, make sure that you don't separate the minister from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from Master Fard Muhammad. They're all divinely linked. They're not on three different islands. They're working simultaneously. Also, I have learned, to me, the second most important thing is the principle of fair dealing. Minister Ishmael is one of the best counselors that I have ever encountered in my life. And in being able to ask him certain questions, he would always say when he counsels, he said, normally, Brother Jeffrey, when people counsel, they're looking to see who's right and who's wrong. He said, but in Islam, we're looking to make peace first. We're not trying to find out who's right, who's wrong. You can find that. There ain't gonna be no peace when they leave the meeting. You can say Brother Willie was right, Brother Jeffrey was wrong. Brother Willie,
see, he on my side.
That's right. I can agree. Yeah, he was right, but I don't leave the meeting feeling a brother to Brother Willie. So, Minister Ishmael, like, can we find peace first? Make peace among the brethren. And if we can make peace among the brethren, who's wrong and who's right will work itself out. But we're not trying to find out you're wrong, you're right. He said, no. There's always a little right and a little wrong in both parties. But the believer can see where we're still brother and sister. He said in the middle of the meeting, they'll correct themselves. Brother Willie, you know what? I apologize, man. I shouldn't have done that. And you'll say, man, Brother Jeffrey, it's all good. I shouldn't have done it. We good, Brother Ishmael. We ain't got to keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. We're at peace. So that was important for me to learn. Make peace among the brethren. And Minister Ishmael does not hesitate if he finds that there is a problem among the believers. He does not care what time. He will say, get them on the phone. He doesn't waste time. He says the longer a problem can fester, the worse it will become. And you know the spirit of the Negro. If I have a problem, within 2 days, I've shared that problem with 5 or 6 other people who've shared that problem with probably 4 or 5 other people themselves. So the little problem that I had with you is now all spread through the Mars because, one, I couldn't come to you. I shared it with somebody by saying, I don't tell nobody. They went to somebody and said, don't tell nobody. I got a whole side of the Mars that's looking at you crooked eye. You got a side of the Mars that's looking at me crooked eye. And it could be over the most simplistic idea. But because we could not come together and resolve it, we have now infected the Mars. So Minister Ishmael is stalwart in get them together now. Let's resolve it. And if it has gotten out into the Mars, let's bring the whole body together and give a vaccine to make sure that this poison is not continuing. Those would be, for me, the two of the most important things that have impacted in my ministry. And I would think his presentation, it keeps the minister out front. And in teaching our class, most of our lectures, probably 95%, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. Because you just can't outdo his words. There's nothing that has more power, no more light, no more life to it than his word. So we make sure, Minister Ishmael, make sure that we keep his word, promote his word, keep him out front, and maybe add an anecdote or an example, but keep his word out front. Those would be for me, the best 3 things, most important 3 things that I've gotten from him.
Those are some good lessons, brother. And even what you shared as it relates to his way of counseling, right? Because, you know, many of us who are student ministers, there's no class that we go to and we're learning this. A lot of times it's just be trial and error, personal experiences, best practice from other people. But now, you know, I can give, when I talk to another student minister or whatever, I can say, hey, go listen to this. And now you have something that we can work from, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the beauties of learning from one another. So I'm glad that you shared that. And since you mentioned, you know, about keeping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan out front, has there ever, because I can imagine, you know, the minister observes and he sees how you assist Brother Ishmael. He hears you as you delivered the lecture a couple of weeks ago. Was it Love Thyself, right? Was it?
Yes, sir.
The title of that lecture. Yeah. I know he sees that. Have you ever gotten any direct guidance or interactions or moments with the minister that stood out to you that you can share?
Whew. I've been blessed a few times. Most of the comments he'll share with Minister Ishmael, and Minister Ishmael will bring them back to the class. But I've been blessed on a few lectures where I've heard directly from him. And as you know, you only want to please two people. You pray that Allah is pleased, and you pray that he's pleased. And I've gotten the thumbs up from him on the times that I've heard from him, which, you know, it breaks you into a cry because you're listening to him. He offers where you could do better, but then he builds your esteem and says, I love what you said, but the minister's always looking to make you better. So he's such a phenomenal teacher that he'll say, now remember this point and that point. So as you build into your next lecture, you remember those points, and each lecture becomes better because you have the master teacher. But I have been blessed where he said that he was pleased with the representation of our class. He was pleased with the lecture that I had done. And it just, you know, it makes you cry. It brings you to tears because you pleased the teacher. And that's the person that you want to please. You know, the mosque can be happy, but if he ain't happy, it don't make any difference. And if the mosque can say they hated it, but if he loved it, that's all that matters. Is that the Honorable Minister is pleased. Wow. So far, it's been okay. I had one that he was not pleased with, and I heard that side of it too. And as you know, when he's stern about something.
Definitely.
He's stern.
How did you bounce back from that? You know, because
I didn't.
But I mean, I know you went and made changes, and you knew next time when I come, I'm gonna do this, and that, right?
I put it like this: it was quite a while before I did another lecture. So we use sports terms. I was benched for a minute. I was benched for maybe a year. I was benched for about a year.
Now that can be a trial for people, man. How did you survive that? How did you navigate that?
I use the words of Brother Ishmael. You just want to be a tool in the toolbox, and when it's your time to be used, you be ready. I didn't have a thought in my mind that I wouldn't be speaking again. I know I had been blessed to have spoken, and if that era was over with, I was pleased. Allah had did more for me than I ever could have imagined. But I kept refining my craft that if he ever needed the old screwdriver again, I would be ready. But I never took it in the negative. I just was grateful for the opportunity to have spoken. And I was grateful that the messenger of God had a personal conversation with me, whether he was pleased or not. For him to have a conversation with me was enough for me. But I didn't take, it wasn't a trial for me as in terms of my faith. I understood my limitations and frailties as a person. Of course, it hurts your self-esteem goes through a roll like, okay, Allah, I'm so sorry. But I just kept refining. I said, if I'm ever needed again, I'll be ready.
Beautiful. And since we're talking about your lecture, and this is an image from the final call from the last one, what made you decide to tackle that topic and that subject matter? So this is a 3-part question. What made you select that topic, that subject matter, and what has been some of the feedback that you have received from, because I saw several people online that they were so thankful for those words.
I'll be frank with it. I didn't choose the subject matter. It was on the flyer that Sister Sandra had been advertising for the program. Now, it might take me a few minutes to build this. I wasn't the person that was supposed to speak. Student Minister Ishmael has always spoke at her events, probably for the last 15 years. And he was on an assignment. And he called me, I believe it was Thursday. And he said, get ready. Now, Mr. Ishmael and I had this relationship. He said that all the time, get ready. And my response is always, yes, sir, I'll give you the best 5-minute introduction, and then I'm going to have a seat. So I'm not thinking he's serious. I'm like, okay, yes, sir. So then I respond again. I said, are you serious? He's like, yes, sir. Now I go into panic mode because I know I only got a few days, and I know this is a huge crowd. I'm accustomed to a few minutes with a big crowd. I'm not accustomed to keynote. So I go to pray, and I'm working on it. And in our ministry class, we first send an outline to Brother Ishmael. He goes over the outline. He might call you and ask you what's your intent. Then he says, send me your first draft. So normally if he tells us on a Monday, you got a lecture, by Tuesday or Wednesday, he gets the outline. Wednesday or Thursday, he gets the first draft. He makes comments to it. Friday, he'll get the second draft. He might make a comment to it. Saturday, he might get another draft. So somewhere in there, he's getting 2 or 3 drafts. And it could go all the way up to Sunday morning. He might get inspired to say, hey, add this or take this away. Well, this time, I'm sending him the outline and the draft. And he only sends me one response. He says, don't forget, it's a young audience. And I had wrote this lecture, Minister Willie, to folk probably 25 and above. And I felt it was one of the best lectures I had ever wrote. So I'm ready. So Sunday when we get there, he sends me that text. I'm like, and forgive me, I was like, damn, I forgot. Children. I'm 60. Have I aged out talking to children? And when I get to the mosque, the first bus is there. So we brought buses of children. They had breakfast. And they're getting off the bus and they're like 12, 10. And I panic. I'm like, I don't know what to say to 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And I see Student Minister Daniel, Student Minister Talib. Well, Student Minister Daniel's out of town. I see Student Minister Talib. And I said, Brother Talib, I don't know what. And Allah blesses him. And normally what Brother Ishmael would say, God just starts talking. And I'm listening to Talib. I'm like, that's it. And I'm right. That's it. That's it. And as each student minister comes in, they're sharing what they see about these students. And I'm just sitting at the table. Oh, man, that was good. So I'm writing what the student ministry class is saying to each other. I'm just writing. I'm like, I got it. So that lecture really is by the grace of Allah. That really had nothing to do with anything that I had in my head. I prayed so hard that Allah would speak to them because they were so young sitting in them rows. And they were just staring and like, look at grandpa, look at this old man. And I was like, Allah, you just use me. Please use me. And that I give that credit, all credit. That was him. And I was just a willing instrument that he could speak to. So I can't take anything of creating that, writing that. That was God through the student ministry class, through Brother Ishmael. But more importantly, he spoke to his people. And it might have been the first lecture in my life that it was more extemporaneous than on paper. But that was one of the first time I had to really rely, God, you have to talk to them because I don't know how. I don't know what to say. That was Allah that spoke to me. I take zero credit for that one, brother. Zero.
Beautiful. And what type did you get any feedback from the young people or just any other believers, anything?
The young ones said they loved it. I got hugs from them afterwards. Some of their parents said they loved it.
And you know that crowd, that crowd, if they don't like something, they're gonna let you know verbally, or they doze off or whatever.
And for me, the only thing I didn't realize it had moved anyone until it was over. All I saw was when certain people would get up to walk to the back. I didn't notice the smiles. I didn't notice. I was like, okay, here's another one leaving. Oh man, there's another one looking on their phone. I kept looking for the worst of the audience because they were so young and they had filled the mosque. It's like in class, in class, you know what to say. You got your textbook. I just didn't. I had to go back to basic Islam 101. Even prior to 101, I had to find something to relate. How do you relate to a 10-year-old? How do you relate to an 8-year-old? But Allah can. Allah is the best knower, and Allah knows how to speak to his people. Brother Jeffrey doesn't, but Allah knew what he wanted, and Allah talked to them. So afterwards, they had a great time, and they enjoyed going next door. But most of them, the young, they had smiles. And you can tell when they're happy, they give you hugs, and they say thank you. So Allah did his thing. Brother Jeffrey didn't do nothing.
And I think if we're sincere, that's the prayer that many of us do when we go to the rostrum just before going, is to ask Allah to use us. If we're sincere, that we're vain or whatever, we don't even have that thought. But I know most people, because we know, like, man, I'm just a vessel, as flawed as we are, just a vessel. Allah use me. So 2 more questions before we get ready to go. What advice would you give to someone who's just beginning their journey in Islam, or they're just still seeking the truth? Like, some people might watch this and they may just be days out of processing class, or they just started reading Message to the Black Man. What advice would you give them?
Learn prayer. Learn prayer as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Your prayer, your earnest desire to know God, starts with the sincere prayer to him. Keep the conversation and communication with Allah all the time. Find him in the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the good believers. When you hear the believers had a negativity, walk away. Find the believers that rely on Allah, and you know they rely on Allah because they always say it by the permission of Allah. If it be the will of Allah, astaghfirullah. They're standing in the name of Allah. They always have a book of the minister. They're always referring to a tape of the minister, always referring to a source of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. These are the believers to hold on to. Don't hold on to the believers that start out with what I would do. Find the believers that say what the minister said. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says. The study guides say. Hold on to those. But most importantly, enjoy your journey in Islam. The ups, the downs, the seemingly negative, which is not negative, because the scripture says that all things work for the good. And what you think is not good, in due time you'll see it was meant for your elevation, both spiritually, possibly economically, and definitely morally. But hold fast to the rope of Islam. And as you said earlier, Student Minister Willie, Allah called you to the new believer. He called you personally. He found you through whatever circumstance. It was not your choice. He made an active choice in bringing you to his nation. Honor that, respect that, cherish being drafted into his nation. Love it, honor it, feel good about it, and never second guess that Allah loves you, desires you, and wants the best for you. Even though things can go different directions, it's just God's trial on you. Not that he needs to try you, but God puts you through trials so that you know where you are on your journey of faith. And he shows you what you need to tighten up on, what you need to do to be better. But he never tries so that you'll leave his faith. He only tries you to strengthen you in your faith.
Beautiful words, man. Beautiful words. As you were speaking, I said, it's something we'll clip with the processing brothers who I deal with, to let them to hear that so that they can remember that. You know what I'm saying? And it's important for us to understand, like, Allah called us.
That's right.
You know, like with all he knows, he still called us. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that, you know, sometimes we can dwell on, just want to be the negative. We ain't doing it. But man, God sees the best. Like in the lessons, he examined all of the earth. He knew the poor part and the good part, but he made an intentional say, I'm focusing on this. I don't even care about the poor part. I know it's there, but this is what I choose to care on. And my last question to you is, as you reflect on your journey so far, what are you the most grateful for in your journey in Islam? What are you the most grateful for?
That's a good question.
Praise be to Allah.
I'm most grateful for being alive. In so many ways, I could have earned death and not been here. Just to breathe, I'm grateful. My children are still here. I'm grateful. I still have my health. I'm grateful. I'm able to see and hear the minister with some degree of sound mind. I'm grateful. I met beautiful brothers, sisters like yourself. I think I've known you now 25 plus years. I'm grateful for those relationships. I'm grateful that I'm able to put on a suit and tie and still say Assalamu alaikum. I think of some of the believers, Minister Willie, that I used to look up to, that are now saying the craziest things. And I beg Allah, I beg him, and I thank Allah that he has not allowed my mind to go crazy and to say things and do things that make me other than myself. So I'm grateful through all my madness, my sin, my mess up, my being a nigga, that he has kept me in his nation. Even when I've done everything to get out of it, he would not let me leave it. I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful for my parents, and they brought me to a certain degree of journey and gave the baton to the minister to keep it running. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for everything that he has done for me, all of the trials, all of the tribulations. They've done nothing but to make me a better believer. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything, Brother Willie, because I'll be honest with you, my parents died at an early age. My brothers died at an early age. I didn't think I would make it to 60 because all of my relatives died of cancer in their 50s. When I got to 60, I was scared. I'm like, man, I ain't going to make it. That's why I left out with just life itself, to make it and to be here and cancer free, sickness free. I'm grateful. And I give that credit to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because had I lived the life that I wanted, I probably would have had cancer, heart attack, stroke, and everything else. But striving to live a decent life, I'm grateful for God giving me that knowledge.
Beautiful. And that spirit of, that spirit of gratitude is so important, because I think about this, and I often share this with the believers when we read the Holy Quran, when Allah was telling Iblis about what his future outcome is going to be. Iblis asked for respited time. And out of all of the stuff he could have said, you're going to find us liars, stealers, cheat, all that stuff. The devil himself said, Satan himself said, you are going to find them unthankful. Think about that. Out of all the stuff he could have said, you're going to find them this, and this. No, I'm going to make them, they're going to be ungrateful. They're not going to be thankful. That's very like, why is that? Because people, we like to point at the obvious stuff, but what about like this spirit of what we're not the gratitude. Yeah, we have stuff that we don't have, but look at what you do have. You know what I'm saying?
You just touched me with that one.
Yeah, man. Look at what you do have. And sometimes it's like, yo, man, like I did this myself, and I asked the believers, I said, when you get the opportunity, just go home and take out a sheet of paper and write down as many thank you, Master Farah Muhammad statements as you can. And you will be amazed at stuff that I ain't even thankful. Thank him for that. Thank him for this. Just like when you mentioned about thankful not to be of those who saying some of the wildest stuff. I saw something online the other day and I said, man, how do you go from listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for light, life, and guidance to now you are listening to the very man who brought you from debt, looking to find something in his words to take away from him?
Come on.
I was like, you know, it's like, yo, crazy. So that's to be grateful.
I'm amazed at it. I just leave. Give your name back. Yeah. Walk away. Yeah. If you fell out of faith, I'm gone. Take your name back. Take it back. Be respected. But to now find wrong with a man that gave you life, and you know he gave you life. And the ignorant part is the very knowledge you using to condemn him, you got it from him.
Got it from him. And as we close on this part, I've come to realize, and I mentioned this to the believers locally and others, you know, in our history as a Nation of Islam, we call out the devil a lot, and we should.
Yes.
But I'm coming to learn that, you know, there are two other words that begin with the letter D that we need to be careful about, that we need to be worried about just as much as the devil. And those two other words are dissatisfaction and disappointment.
Oh, yes, sir.
Dissatisfaction and disappointment, because some of us we're not handling it. And we all are going to have dissatisfaction and disappointment, but you can't allow that to make you a traitor to that which gave you life.
That's right.
You can't do that. You can't do that. And people don't. And one thing with that disappointment, we about to hold a whole nother discussion with that disappointment, man, like in the story of Cain and Abel. Like when I went back to read it, Cain was upset that he didn't get his offering accepted, but Cain did not give God his best part. Abel gave God his best. Abel gave God the fattest of the sheep that he had. Cain just took, I'm going to give God this. And here you didn't give God your best, but you want God's best.
And he took it personally.
And that disappointment and dissatisfaction, it blinds you so much. Cain didn't even realize God was telling him, you still have a second chance. He didn't even hear that.
Yeah,
God told him, you still got a second chance.
He did. He didn't deny. He took it that, God, you don't want me. It wasn't that you didn't want what I offered you. He took it as, you don't like me. And you're like, man, how did your countenance? I just didn't accept the gift you gave me, but I still love you. And he said that the disappointment, oh man, I guess God is putting it there for us to teach on. Because if you're not grateful, if you cannot find gratitude, then disappointment, it will cloud your mind and to make you think this was a wasted trip. And you begin to think of your investment all along this trip that you put in for the trip, and you didn't get back what you thought you deserved and what you thought you earned. Now you're upset with the person, not the person that put you on the trip, but the person that was driving with you. So everybody dissatisfied. They don't have the courage to go to God and say, God, why did you put me through this? They blame
the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah.
That's what Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said they met you because they don't have the guts to really blame who they want to blame, and they just take it out on the person that they see. So, man, Brother Jeffrey, thank you, my brother. We have to do this again. And I'm grateful for these testimonies and these interviews, because I initially started doing this because one time I was in the suite with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Houston, and Sister Claudette had her book, and the minister did the foreword. And the minister at the table said that these are the stories I don't get a chance to hear. So sitting at the table, I said, man, when I get back home, I'm going to ask the believers to put their testimonies down in a written form, and we're going to send it to the minister as a birthday gift. And coincidentally, this is the book right here. There will be like testimonies of Allah. And it's just testimonies of believers. I don't know if you can see the camera.
That's
believers
beautiful.
in our mosque. And we sent it to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a gift for his birth anniversary. And then after that, the minister said it's too many of his witness bearers are too damn silent. And that's how we started. When people will come to the city, we would just, after the mosque meeting, give them the opportunity to tell their testimony, and we'll record it for historical purposes. And then when COVID came, our student captain, Brother Jason, said, Brother Minister, why don't you just start doing your show online? And that's how we started doing it online, so that people can go back and look at these things and hear the stories that people have, and the stuff that I've come across has just been mind blowing. Like with the test, I can't wait to share this with the believers, your testimony, how you came, because that's confirming. That's like Allah has us. Allah has us.
I agree.
Has us, man.
I agree, man. We've come this far. Ain't no sense in leaving now. We done made it this far, man. No, I've enjoyed the show, and I have enjoyed the witness bearing. And I'll be honest with you, listening to other people's testimony is fuel in my spiritual gas tank. There's times where you get low. And when you hear the struggle of other believers, you're like, oh man, okay. Allah is active in all of our lives at the same time. And he's moving us all in different directions toward the same goal. He's so masterful that in each person you had on, each listener can hear their interconnectedness with that person. And they can see where, man, we'll meet at some point in this journey. We'll meet to make this kingdom of God real. But to keep going with it, these are beautiful testimonies. They're strengthening to the spirit, to the soul. And I tell you, the one I really enjoy, Minister Abdul Halim from Phoenix. He had, I didn't know, he touched my heart.
Came from being an atheist, man.
His journey.
Yeah.
And sometimes you think your journey is arduous until you hear somebody else's. When I heard his, I stopped in the middle of it and pushed pause. And I said, Allah, let me stop complaining, backtracking, because what I thought is difficult, somebody else's trial was more difficult. Let me stop complaining and just say thank you that I made it this far. But I thought that was a dynamic interview you did with him, brother.
Praise be to Allah. And like one of the scriptures in the book of Revelations, when it says the dragon will be defeated by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony.
That's right.
We all have a testimony. And sometimes some believers think that, I've met some believers who think that just because they don't have a testimony to say, I was in a gang, I got shot, I went to jail, as if you don't have a testimony. No, you have a testimony. Because the being a gang member, being this, that's only a byproduct of being a so-called Negro. That's the major disease. You see what I'm saying? Being a so-called Negro, that's all that other stuff is you like some people get sick and they end up having pneumonia. But no. The major disease is being a dead Negro.
That's right.
If you say you came out of that, that's a testimony. So we'll be all night, man. But thank you, my brother. And I pray that other people who watch this get the opportunity that they enjoy it and they get the benefit from it as I have. So let me bring you off and we close out, and then we'll
happy anniversary too, brother. Happy you and the Queen. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, my brother. I will let her know that. So thank you all for tuning in to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. This is your brother Willie Muhammad. We appreciate you all for tuning in. And as I said, if you know anybody that is interested that you think would be a good guest to be on the show, by all means, send us their name. Let us know. We'll put it in in the description. If we don't put it in the description, leave it in the chat. And if you have anybody that wants to advertise anything, let us know as well. So thank you.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us. He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory.